Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you all for watching this video, and thank you, May, for joining us today. For those of you who weren't with us at the end of May, we had an Instagram live with Michael, and May was going to join us. Unfortunately, there were some technical issues, so we have brought her back now to tell us all about youth trauma, grief, and depression, and some of the things she's learned from listening to youth. So we are really excited to have you, May. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your amazing work?
Thank you, Gloria. I'm called Nambooze. I'm from Uganda, and I coordinate a group of young people with lived care experience in Uganda. Lived care experience, I mean young people who grew up in orphanages, babies' homes, those like were cared for, and then now they're back in the communities. Just a little bit before I go to the topic. In Uganda, we don't have a system or we don't have a system that the institutions follow while integrating or sending back teenagers or young people back in communities. So the government says when you're 18, you're an adult, you should take care of yourself. And what the institutions, most of the institutions here do is when a young adult or when a boy or girl turns 18, they just send them home. And I've been working with young people. Been working with young people with lived experience of care since 2016. And when I started working, we started with the research, really wanted to know what happens when someone leaves an institution. What is going on out there? What challenges are they facing? And we have the research, we have the report. It's called the caregivers experience, and it details what happens when someone is in institution, the goods, the bads, and also really what happens to when someone is back in a community, like being isolated from the community for so long, and then you're taken back into the community without being prepared, no one to go to, and also the other thing is that the institution or this institution owners cut off the communication between the young people and the institution. So you're alone in the community, abandoned, and you have to start over. So imagine you've been in we call it a good life, being taken care of, and then someone gives you $100 to go start a life, without preparing you, no one in the community, The first thing that overwhelms you is the grief, the loss you feel of losing these people who have been taking care of you, of losing your comfort. Imagine at the beginning, the young people, most of the young people have lost a parent. So there is that loss. And then someone takes you in, and then at the age where you need them to guide you is when they leave you. And then you lose the environment you've been in, the friends you've grown up with, and then you're in the middle of the unknown, the society that already has, we already have the stigma there for people who grew up in institutions. They are called here in Uganda, talking from the research and the experience, you are named after the institution you've been in. We call white people here Mzungu. It's a word mostly in East Africa. We call white people Mzungu. So they call you a Mzungu child, mostly because you go in the community and you're speaking English. People here speak their local languages, and you kind of don't fit in. Most experiences are you're not prepared. You don't know, you're not street smart, if I can say, and you've lost everything. This situation actually brings lots of things. Depression. So many young people have committed suicide because they don't know where to begin, who to go to. Most of young people are like they've left institutions, but they are also in the state institution, in prisons, because they didn't know what to do. They decided to find the easy way out, and that is committing a crime so they can be taken away. There is no no guidance at all. Most of the young people are depressed. They really don't care what happens. Because of the change of environment, you're not prepared, you're not continuing school, it's not like you have a job. And even those who tries to get jobs, they don't know how to keep the job. And then worst of it is the COVID situation, the pandemic, that made everything really, really hard. In Uganda, at some point, us as the Uganda Caregivers Network, we lost the donors that were helping us to do some activity to engage caregivers continuously, intervene. And we have the platform is to share the voice. It's a platform for people with common identity. They share their experience. They feel like when you're not alone, we feel like you're not alone, you're with someone. But then the COVID, we had these strict rules. You can't leave the house. And also the other thing is that in Uganda, it's how can I say it? It's like if you don't go to work today, you won't have food tomorrow. So you're isolated, you're in society, you don't know anyone to go to. And honestly, people here, young people, some of young people in our group started hunting for rats just to get something for food. That's how terrible it was. And after COVID, we started working with young people on mental health awareness, reaching out to them, talking to them and equipping them with mental health knowledge, awareness. And also we wanted them to be like the voice of this, leading this. And also because everyone sees a young person with a lived experience of care has vulnerable, like a breaking glass. We want the young people to be the ones leading this, to give them the confidence to to make sure that they are leading in their communities. At least they are representing something, you know, that confidence that someone can listen to you. You know, it changes somehow your mindset. In this talking about mental health and mental awareness, it's kind of a taboo, because when you say mental health, someone thinks, oh my God, you're crazy, you need a hospital, you know. And just getting people to break it, like breaking that cycle of calling of you know, not talking about mental health, and also being careful on what they say. Also knowing that you can say something that can break someone, you can do something that can really make someone or kill someone, and you can also be someone who can prevent unnecessary death, unnecessary depression. You can be someone savior. We don't have many we don't have many professional psychologists in the country. Maybe they are there, but even if they are there, they are very expensive to the extent that the vulnerable youth can't reach out to them. So we're like, if we come together, we can make a difference. So we are kind of used we are kind of using a method called trauma informed approach, where we go through young people, we teach ourselves with a psychologist, train each other. The psychologist trains us or teaches us everything about mental health, like things we know already, because when we all know about the stigma, we all know about the depression, we all know about the eating disorders, we all know about those overwhelming feelings you get, when you have anxiety, when you're depressed. We all know about, I'm sure we've all heard about someone who killed themselves just because of something really, So, but this awareness program is helping us to see, when do you intervene? How can you get someone to trust you? How can you get someone to open up to you? How can you guide someone to get help? So we also do map areas where we can refer to. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a lot of questions. I just learned a whole lot from you. I mean, I had no idea that that was such a prevalent issue in Uganda, and I'm sure a lot of others around me probably didn't know as well. So I'm interested to know a little bit more about the environment that these children are growing up in. So at these institutions where they're only learning English, they're not even learning the local languages, is there an issue there where there's a lot of volunteers from high-income countries coming in to teach English and rotating, where maybe they'll be there a year and leave and there'll be another one, which could also cause trauma, where they have people rotating in and out and not having that constant?
Yeah, thank you for that. Uganda is a very beautiful country. So we have, nature-wise, I think we are the best. We have the beautiful sun. It's like summer all the year through, and the animals and everything. So we have people coming to tour, but on their tour, they have a 3-day or 3 weeks in the orphanage. And this is actually also causing how attachment issues because it's a really big issue. Someone, they don't know that they're doing harm. Someone comes in the institution and to volunteer for a month or two, and then they pick their favorite child. They treat them nice. They like pamper them, and then time comes and they have to leave this child behind, and then someone else dies. Someone else do the same thing. They keep rotating, and I don't know if they think about it, but can you imagine? We have young people who are like, I've been abandoned over and over and over again. When a volunteer comes, they are more treasured than the child. So whatever they do, they're not supervised. Sometimes you go to a place and you find one mzungu with different kids, like who's supervising this lady, who's supervising this old guy who's moving around with little kids, no one. But because they have the money, what can you say?
Yeah, it's obviously a really terrible situation that anybody can have access to these kids. Anyone who is willing to pay to go to Uganda is going to show up and not even help them, like washing their feet. Is that kind of common where these orphanages aren't necessarily just for orphans, or they might actually have a living parent, but they were separated for financial reasons or because the girl was pregnant, something like that?
Okay, let me give you a little background about our culture. So in our culture, we rarely use the word orphan because we have let me say, if you have two sisters, if I have two sisters, my kids will call my sister's mom. If I had a brother, my kids will call my brother's uncle. So, and the same, if it's a boy, if, let me say, their father's brothers will be their fathers too. And so if you lose your paternal father, like you'll have another father there, but he would be an uncle in the Western culture, but in our culture, it's your father. Any brother to your father is your father. Any sister to your mother is your mother. So you can imagine if someone dies, you say, okay, you've lost your mom, you're gonna stay with your other mom. And this is done, the research is done. Every child, in most of a big number, like 90% of the children living in institutions, they have a living parent. And they are in institutions because the living parent was convinced that if you give us your child, we are going to pay for the children school fees, or your child, we are going to pay for their school fees. And the big reason, one of the big reasons why the kids are in institution is because of education. And you know what? I think orphanages are making our government lazy, because if you come and say, oh, I'm going to help the government pay for this kid's school fees, so the government will be like, okay, and they don't even follow up. Recently, our government said the orphan institutions should close, and we have more than 800. No, we have more than 50,000 young kids in institutions, and we only have around 30 that are registered, and the rest, we have like 800 something institutions. No one knows what happens.
Obviously a really horrible situation to think about, and money speaks. So if tourists or people coming from the outside say we're going to give money, we want to see more institutions, or this is what we want, then it ends up
Mm.
creating more, or that's where the wealth goes. And then you do have parents, or as you say, this extended family, which I think is
Yeah.
beautiful. I think that's a beautiful part of your culture, to have this just connected family network, because I do think children need that support system, even if it's not coming from a biological parent, even if it's not coming from a
Mm.
biological relative, whatever that support system is, they need that.
Yeah.
And I guess when it comes to the finances of it, if education is better in these institutions, a parent or guardian might say, this is the best chance I have for this child. And they might think that they are doing what's in the child's best interest. We can see that the system is broken and it's not necessarily the best.
Yeah.
As for the education, are we seeing good education in there, not only from learning English, but skills training and things that they would need to get a job when they're outside the institution?
You'll be surprised that young people go in institutions and the thing is they say you're going to get a better education. But then when they get in there, they don't go to school. Most uh, most of them don't really complete high school. Okay, to be honest, institutions here are money making, business. And one day I was really mad. At institutions, when I was doing the research, I was like, we need to share these stories. The world needs to know. And I went in the newspapers here, and I asked for a column where I can put the articles every day. And after young people coming in sharing their stories, it was a news story, but then it will be my face, known to the young person's face. And then I received threatening calls like, who do you think you are? When you die, how long will the country mourn you? So something like that. Yeah. And then some institution leaders said, we are cutting off their feeding hands. So it's maybe I won't say that 100% of them are all like that, but the percentage is really big. And even those that I can call VIP institutions that are good, they take away the chance of having a family, like growing up in an open environment. And we all know Uganda is a third world country. So you have to struggle. You have to learn struggling from a young age. You have to see your parents struggling, how they're making money. So you get to see how the world moves. But when they're taken away in institutions, they have this timetable. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you go sit on a dining table, you have your breakfast, you put on your uniform, you go to school, you come back, you have a nap, you wake, you're done with the nap, you play, you eat, you sleep. And then someone is 22, someone is 25, they don't know how to, to do anything, like even the simple things. Like they don't have any social skills, like, and actually most of them just end up in drug abuse. you know they just, because they don't fit anywhere. Someone can get a job. I know some young people who were living in good institutions, and they went and they had nursing certificates. Like if you're a nurse in Uganda, you can get a job any time of the day. But they would call you and say, I have a headache. Can you help me out? I'm like, you a nurse? They're like, I need, they come up with small things and you're like, you're professional. You can get hired anywhere you want in Uganda, because we don't have many nurses, and they don't, they just want to be given, you know. It creates this dependency, you know. Even uh this mental health awareness program we are doing, we are trying to, you know, to cut that out, like, but it's really hard. You know, someone is like, oh, you're talking about mental health? Yeah, I wanted to kill myself. How are you gonna help? Are you gonna give me money? I wanted to kill myself because I don't have money, you know. And you're like, you know, yeah, they really, young people live without social skills at all, um communication skills. They don't know how to apply for a job, or even if they do get a job, how to keep it. It's it's something they like, and they don't know how to do the you know, the simple house you know, things like clean, do dishes. They don't want that.
Yeah, it's just a lot to unpack there. I'll start with the news article and you going up
Yeah,
and speaking on behalf of them. I think that was incredibly brave of you. That is
thank
not
you.
an easy thing to do. Not too many people would, because they know it does come with backlash. But I find that to be incredibly brave that you spoke out, you saw something that was wrong, and you took steps to try to get the awareness out there, knowing that awareness leads to change. So I do want to applaud you for that and let you know that, like, that was incredibly brave. Just with what's happening with your work and what you're doing, it seems like you're not just stopping at basic mental health and emotional services. You very much are trying to help with trauma, depression, and grief, and helping them in an emotional sense on that end. But it appears you're also giving them a lot of soft skills that they need in life, trying to help them with that transition, help them kind of fit back into society, you know, give them some of those skills that they need that they didn't get out of the institution for various reasons. So I'm curious to know more about your work, what you're doing to help them not only overcome a lot of that trauma, but to actually secure that livelihood, to help them get the job and get back into society.
Okay. Yeah, so we are doing some things together. So we are trying to get away from doing something for care leave, deciding for the young people what to do. So their life has been like, always do this, do this, do this. Oh, we are doing this for you. Then we are changing to, what can you do? And in 2019, before COVID, we got a number of young people, and we sat together, and we were brainstorming about life skills and mentorship. What is life skills? And then we developed our own manual. With this, it's a manual developed by caregivers for young people, you know, for them and for other youth that needs it in the society. This helps in two ways: the confidence that this is your contribution. How do you see? How do you keep a job? How do you apply for a job? Hygiene is very important. How can you be a good citizen? What is what is this? What should you have to be a citizen? You know, those are simple things, but these are things that the young people really don't have. We developed a manual, and then we are using it as a guidance in for young people. So we talk about how identifying mentors in the communities, someone you can look to, someone you can go to for advice. But also we talk about how can you be a mentor? Because if you look up to someone and you're like, you admire them and you ask them for advice, you should also behave well in the community. You should have identifications. You should be clean. You should shower. You know, you should do all those things. You should not be lazy to try to find a job. It's do whatever it is that make other people admire you. So we do that. We also as I talked about the mental health. So the young people, they're still, as I said, it's we are using the trauma-informed approach. So their experiences, their story, they have this platform where they share them. They know when, what to say or not to say, or they are learning. I can't say no, we are learning how your words can affect someone, how your actions can affect someone. We also, so there, first of all, we are building the confidence in the communities. We are trying also sensitizing the communities about the young people, because no, don't call them the institution names. We are also staying away from calling caregivers. We don't want another name in a community. So we are still in debate, which name should we use? So for me, I say young people that live the experience of care, but some people say, like, let's just call us care experts. So if you hear me playing with those words, but another thing we are doing is trying to create network with other partners who can take on a young person if they are still in need of school. So we try to reach out to maybe vocational institutes, like, hey, this young group of people, we try to reach out with organizations working with the youth in communities and say, like, be like, okay, we have this group of people that needs someone's hand. As I mentioned earlier, that we approach government institutions, like government offices. So like town clerks, officers. So the young people can be comfortable reaching out for help if something happens. We are also seen as the enemy, people trying, or people who don't appreciate. Yes. So we are trying to be a group, because it's very hard to attack the whole group if you have one voice. So we try to be a group, work together, and yeah, I said we brainstorm, see, let's do this will help us. Oh, I heard about this. We have young people who are farmers, and they are like, okay, they engage in other activities in farming in their communities. We also have young people who are like decided to be gatekeeping, sensitizing the people in their communities to keep their children, by finding out solutions, like, okay, what can we do together? Is it food? Okay, you can come, I have some food in my garden, but we can share until maybe we work to that. We have so many activities going on. We try to get young people as active as we can, and also as independent as possible. We have young people who are helped, and they have started businesses for them, like we have a baker, we have an accountant, we have a technician, those ones that were like, pushed, and they're now living an independent life. One of the fears that cause anxiety and depression is like living on your own. Like, what are you gonna do? Someone has been locking the door for you every time you enter. You just go on the bed and someone else comes and lock the door. You don't have to worry. Now you're on your own. You have to cook for yourself. You've never cooked for 18 years. It's a new thing. So we try to get over it. And also, as I said, encouraging them to interact with the people in the community on a positive note, like talking about life skills, talking about mental health, creating those connections. Yes.
Wow, I love that you go beyond just the young people who need help. Obviously, you're doing incredible work to help these
Thank
young
you.
people, but you're also including the community, which is a gigantic piece of it, to try to break that
Yeah.
stigma, to
Yeah.
try and take out certain vocabulary, naming, kind of putting a wedge where they're seen as the other. You're trying to help create this community where they are one. They are very much a part of it. They're not an other, they're not an outcast. They are a part of
Yeah.
this community, and that creates a sense of trust, a sense of safety,
Yeah.
especially when they've had this gigantic shift, going from one location where they have this sort of family network that they've known their whole lives, or most of their lives, has been taken away. Something where, like you said, they had somebody lock the door for them, they had somebody cook for them, they were told what to do, they had a schedule, and now that's gone. They're trying to figure out what to do. Having that support system, having that community that accepts them and brings them in and sees them as one of them is super important. So I'm very, very, very excited to hear about the work that you're doing and to see what you keep doing. I know you're doing amazing things for these young people,
Yeah.
and I bet that they get so much out of it, and they are so grateful just to know that they are a care leaver. Like, that is a sense of pride. Like, they should be proud to call themselves that. Thank you for all of the work that you do. I am interested to know how somebody else, maybe also in Uganda or in a different country, who might see a similar situation with these types of institutions, what can they do to help these young people transition? Because you and your group can only do so much, and it's localized. How can we replicate this so that more young people can benefit?
First, someone outside Uganda, and if you've been donating to institutions, think twice, because if I say that, during COVID, most of the kids were just sent home. One of the proof that these young people in institutions have parents, they were sent back home. And before that, before COVID, institutions were not, they cut off the connection between you and your family. And then during COVID, they were like, young people were just home. We intervened in so many cases where parents just wanted to marry off the 13-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, because they don't have that family connection anymore. Sorry. They are seeing these young people as strangers. So they're like, if someone has money, they want to marry them off, So someone out there who is funding an institution, think twice. Because when you give them money, they will take them, they will keep getting more kids because they will get more money. And also, before you donate to the charity, do some research about it. Let's educate ourselves what you're doing. You may be doing it from a good faith, but when you're causing more harm like long time harm. So what we are doing, we are trying to, as Uganda caregivers, we are trying to reach out to other countries in Africa, help them or reach out to them and see if they can create their networks as well. So they you know, we have calls, we talk, and fingers crossed, we may have a caregivers workshop in Uganda for the region. But we reach out to them and say, hey, the network, so they can have the network together. We try to reach out to institutions that are willing to, take kids back to the communities, reunite them with their families. And actually we have proof that it works, because working or partnering with Child's Eye Foundation, they have successfully transitioned children and youth back into the communities, assessing, families, like looking for family members. And there is always someone who's like, that was my sister's child. I would be happy to take care of the child. I have a problem with school fees. If I can have school fees paid for, I can feed that child forever, until they can stand on their own. And there are so many ways you can help. But I think it's very important to educate ourselves on the situations before you do what Jesus said you should do. Think about it. Yeah, and also we encourage anyone to reach out to us if they need any information about Uganda Caregivers, what we do, or how they even can help. We are struggling a lot with mental health. If someone be like, I want to, keep that program going. We have so many stories. We have so many stories where, stories, I mentioned a few stories of rape. We have, and this rape stories is not only girls, boys too, being raped by, men, we have so many stories. We have young people that the psychologists that who's helping with this program, that they are receiving help because they are like, it's better if I die. And when most of the time when someone starts thinking, maybe if I die, I'll be better off if I die, they really need help. So yeah, we are happy to share, but we also reach out to other people that are doing work that can give a hand. And yeah.
Absolutely. You and your organization can only do so much, but to have that network, that wider network that might be able to fill in those gaps is so critical, especially since you said there's a lot of underlying issues like child marriage, sexual violence, gender-based violence. What could they do to try to get that sort of help for these young people?
So this is why we use this approach, because psychologists are really expensive. And that's why we use this approach. So we are training the young people in communities. And then the young people have to reach out to 10 people around them. So you can imagine this around 1,170 young people we are working with, and we are informing them about mental health. We are training them. We are teaching. I'm also learning, by the way. I'm also learning. I also had this knowledge that if someone talks about mental health, that means you need medication, you know? So we are learning, but you know that some situations that needs you to talk to someone, and then you get advice and you can get over it. So those we young people are training those so they can be able to help in communities, reach out to a vulnerable youth or kid, and it doesn't matter if these other people in the communities have lived care experience. No, any youth who's vulnerable and any who in the community. So we are working, the young people are supposed to reach out to other youth in the communities for mental health issues or awareness. But then we also work with, we introduce this to, as I said, the government officers. We have the community development officer that is in the community is on board. We have the counselors, they are on board. We have religious leaders, respectable elders in the communities. So we bring them, we also go with them together in the process. We don't leave them behind. So they are aware about mental health, mental issues, what they can do to prevent it, what they can do to, to guide someone with mental health issues. And we hopefully we would see less suicide cases and better with our approach.
Absolutely. I mean, this approach is to save lives. And I love this sort of mentorship initiative that you're starting, so that it's young people who are helping and empowering young people, somebody who really understands their situation and somebody who might be able to create that safe space in a way that somebody who hasn't gone through that wouldn't necessarily be able to.
Just know that these kids need families. If the research shows it's better for kids to grow up in their communities, their families, than in institutions. Yes.
Absolutely. So the more we can do to keep children home with their families, with their communities, and outside these institutions, stop giving money to these institutions, stop visiting these institutions, which also contributes to children being there. That is one thing we can all do to help better the lives of these young people. Thank you so much for taking this time to share your wonderful expertise and the incredible work that you are doing. I didn't mention this earlier, but May is one of our care leaders, honestly doing incredible work in Uganda. And we are so thankful to have you and to have you share your story today.
Yeah, and maybe I want to say to everyone, this is for everyone. Be nice, be kind, and know that what you say can do either harm or good. And also be kind to yourself. We are not perfect, but you just know that you're worth and you're loved and you're special, and just accept yourself no matter the situation, and reach out for help. It's very important to reach out for help, and it's don't get shy talking about your health. There is no health without mental health. So talk about it, seek help, love yourself, accept yourself. You're special. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Mental health and self-care is important to overall wellness and
Yeah.
overall health. So everybody deserves it. And there's always somebody out there who understands what you've been through. You are never alone.
True. You said it perfect. You're never alone. Yes.
Thank you again so much, May. We will share this video out and all the resources and all the research and the work you are doing on YouthLead. So please head over there to check that out. I'll make sure the link is available with the video. And I really, again, want to thank you for your time, because I have learned so much from you, and the work you are doing is just absolutely incredible. And I cannot say that enough.
Thank you as well for having me and creating this time for me. And also, thank you for giving youth a voice so that they can share their experiences, though that they can lead. It's very important that the youth have the voice, the youth decide and take lead. So thank you. We appreciate your work.
Thank you. We appreciate you and your work. I mean, I love sharing voices of youth, just the incredible young people around the world, such as yourself. Like, the world needs to know what you're doing. The world needs to hear your voice. So I am very happy to be able to have that platform to share your voice with the world.